She walks out of the courtroom, smiling softly, thinking her badge will protect her. 38-year-old Sarah Clasen had convinced herself she'd walk free. Her lawyers painted her as a dedicated public servant with a spotless 14-year record, an off-duty Washington State Patrol trooper who made an unfortunate misjudgment, a tragic accident. They claimed nothing criminal. The defense was working. The court was listening. But then prosecutors presented the body camera footage, the blood alcohol results, the 4 hours spent at the bar, and everything changed. What you're about to see is the moment Sarah Clasen realized her badge couldn't protect her from the evidence. The moment she learned that refusing sobriety tests doesn't erase a .17 blood alcohol level. A 20-year-old man was dead, his motorcycle crushed beneath her SUV. And the proof of what really happened on Highway 240 was captured on police body cameras. Surveillance footage and toxicology reports that couldn't be explained away. This is the chilling case of a law enforcement officer who spent 4 hours drinking before turning her vehicle into a weapon. And every single detail I'm about to show you has been verified through police reports, court testimony, and body camera footage. If you've never heard this story before, prepare yourself because what happened in Richland, Washington on March 1st, 2025 will challenge everything you think you know about equal justice, the thin blue line, and how your profession can't shield you from the consequences of driving drunk. There was something investigators discovered about where Clasen spent her afternoon that would prove crucial. Something about a bar tab that mysteriously disappeared. Something that would show this wasn't just one drink with dinner. Do you recognize these two people? We think they may have been here. They've been in here a long time ago. We just suspect that they are the owners likely got rid of the documentation. She was trying to get out of the way. Whatever bike he's on is trapped under that car. I saw what I thought was a car with one headlight out. I turned, and as soon as I turned, just felt boom. March 1st, 2025. Saturday evening, Highway 240 in Richland, Washington. The Richland Police Department received this 911 call. 911, where is your emergency? I'm on 240, turning into Gish Parkway going into Corn Rapids. A person. It looks like to be on the ground. It looks like a vehicle has hit a motorcycle or a person on a bicycle. Okay, you said you're at 240 in Village Parkway. Correct. Did you see the accident happen, or did you just see somebody in like a motorcycle on the ground? We just saw it happen. Oh, okay. Are they moving at all? No. Okay. The first responder was Richland Police Officer Steve Hyde. What he found would turn a traffic accident investigation into a DUI vehicular homicide case. A small crowd had already gathered around a Kia Luride sitting in the middle of the intersection. One of the witnesses, a retired law enforcement agent, spoke to him. When we showed up, this is my car. Okay, so this we could see him here, and then her car. She was trying to get out of the way. Whatever bike he's on is trapped under that car. Okay, all right. He has a fanny pack. I think they just removed it from his chest. She was a first responder. We could tell that he didn't have a pulse. And that's when she started chest pneuma compressions. Okay, all right. Thank you. Yeah, do you need us that? We did not see anything. No, that's fine. The victim's motorcycle was wedged underneath the front right fender. Going back there. When I got here, they were just loading him into the ambulance. I think he was still alive, I think. Yeah, not doing good. But yeah, he looked pretty like his compressions and stuff. So look good. Yeah, okay. Yeah, definitely. It is there. I'm gonna save it from them. And they said, really sure what direction the bike? We didn't know if the bike was coming out or the bike who turned in front of you essentially. Okay, a young man had been thrown from his bike, severely injured. People who'd stopped at the scene were desperately trying to revive him. The SUV's driver stood nearby, Sarah Clasen. She was waiting, talking to first responders. Firefighters worked frantically to save the motorcyclist's life, but his injuries were too great. Jose Vega Sanchez, 20 years old, was pronounced dead at Caddo Regional Medical Center. But how did this collision happen? And why would something that initially seemed like a regular collision end up turning into a criminal investigation? The story begins earlier that Saturday when Jose Vega Sanchez had finished his day's shift at Lamb Weston around 4 o'clock p.m. The 20-year-old tote dump operator returned home to the Horn Rapids neighborhood. His family described him as a bright and loving soul. Joser had been working at Lamb Weston, one of the world's largest frozen potato producers, for over a year as a tote dump operator. He was responsible for handling the industrial containers that transported raw potatoes to the processing facility. It was hard work, physical work, but Joser showed up every day with a positive attitude. He had dreams beyond the factory floor. Joser talked about going back to school, about building a better future for himself, and eventually for a family of his own. At 20 years old, he was just beginning to figure out who he wanted to become. His father, Ruben Sanchez, described him as someone who lit up every room he entered. The motorcycle he rode that day was relatively new to him. His family had been nervous about him riding, but Jose was careful. He took it slow. He'd only ridden his motorcycle 3 or 4 times before. Still learning, still getting comfortable with it. Around 6 p.m., Joser left home on his motorcycle. There was still some daylight left. He headed east on Highway 240, riding in the 55 miles per hour zone at 53 miles per hour. According to later police investigation, he was obeying the speed limit, just riding, heading down a familiar highway near his home. Sarah Clasen, an off-duty trooper, was driving her Kia Telluride west on Highway 240 at the same time, heading home to Horn Rapids. A pizza she'd ordered sat in the passenger seat. She called Domino's at 7:15 p.m., placed a $24 order, asked them to have it ready for pickup. She approached the intersection at Village Parkway, her neighborhood entrance. She needed to make a left turn across the oncoming traffic lane. According to her later statement to police, she was going about 20 miles per hour as she started the turn. She didn't judge the distance correctly. Her SUV slammed into Joser's motorcycle on the front right fender. The impact was catastrophic. The motorcycle became wedged underneath her vehicle. Joser was thrown. He landed 47 feet from the point of impact. His helmet cracked on contact with the pavement. His body tumbled across 2 lanes before coming to rest in the intersection. Then something happened that witnesses would tell police about, something that raised immediate red flags. According to a witness who spoke to investigators on condition of anonymity, Clasen tried to flee. The witness reported that it looked like Clausen's vehicle had shut off, then turned back on. The SUV moved forward about a meter before it could move further because the motorcycle was stuck underneath. She tried to drive away with a dying man in the street with his motorcycle crushed under her SUV, but she couldn't move. The bike was wedged too tightly. Keep this attempted flight in mind. It becomes critical when understanding consciousness of guilt. Initially, the officers at the scene were very nice to Clane, since she was a law enforcement agent just like them. We're still going to have CR here, help them out, and do whatever they need to do and then go that way. But, yeah, sorry happened to you. Yeah, glad you're okay. Hopefully he's okay, too. Yeah, yeah, didn't look okay. He didn't look okay. Yeah, from the looks of it. Yeah, no, these people are here. Yeah, it's okay. There's no reason. Just everybody's recording here. Yeah, well, not yet. It's not. Oh, he still got it. Wait, there's still SR going that way. They took him. He looked they were doing like CPR and stuff. I don't know how. Dude, I didn't even know it was you. Are you all right? I didn't even realize that either at first. I thought you just stopped. I know. I was walking up like I would have been a little more like, are you okay? I just like saw you and I was like, oh, she must have been driving home. We're going to order pizza. And I was like, no, I'll just go get it and save you $6 jars. But Clasen was properly interviewed at the scene. So I'm Steve. I'm with the traffic unit. So just so I know this is probably uncomfortable, but we're just going to, treat this like as if it was anything else. MHM, we wanted to figure out what was going on just in order to rule anything out. Yeah, like obviously, it's just as important to rule everything out as it is to confirm everything. So, I'm just getting here. So, I know you already answered some questions from the other guys, but generally what happened, and so I went and picked up a Domino's pizza. Okay, I was turning left in here. I live right over there on Wild Canyon Way. Okay, I saw what I thought was a car with one headlight out. Okay, right just past where the reflective sign is, that white one. Okay, sure. And so I was already slowing the turn lane and saw him there. And I was like, I got enough time. Okay. I turned, and as soon as I turned, just felt the boom. Okay. That's when officers noticed something was wrong. I think she has something on board. Do you really? Yeah. Yeah. So, we have to. Is there going to be enough to search for it? So, yeah, I'll write it. I mean, unless you want it changed. So, I was just studying her. She got a couple misspelled words on here. Okay. She wrote size sign. She said 100 feet. I'm sorry. I'm going a little fast. She estimated the other distance between the guy on the motorcycle and her to be 100 feet, which that's way more than 100. That's like, yes. 500 feet, she said she was almost through her turn, when clearly she was at the very beginning of her turn. Her eyes are a little bit glassy. A little bit. But could be. But we got to err on the side of caution. I do not have a great sense of smell. But I think I smelled a little bit of odor of alcohol enough for me to say. And then I told her, I'm like, hey, we just want to rule out impairment. And by you not doing that, I'm like, I'm not going to ask you again. But I'm like, we can't rule it out. And she's like, yeah, well, if I would have had a glass of wine earlier, I know how this goes. And I said, did you have a glass of wine earlier? And she said, I'm not going to ask you that. So, okay, I think with everything back, and let him know what we have to. I mean, I will write the search warrant. 3 minutes later, based on the glossy eyes, the alcohol smell, the misspellings, the refusal to cooperate with sobriety testing, Hyde arrested Sarah Clasen on suspicion of DUI vehicular homicide. All right, so, like I said, we were really trying to rule alcohol out. I'm not convinced that alcohol wasn't a factor. So, right now you are under arrest. Okay, let's go ahead and put your hand behind your back. So, we will be doing a search warrant for blood. Okay, that way there will be no questions. Seat back here. Oh, yeah, he doesn't want to do breath test. Well, so we're trying to treat this like any other incident, and typically once the opportunity kind of comes, and that you say you didn't want to do it, it's voluntary. And then if you want to do it, I do voluntary breath tests at the AC, but I just didn't want to do the field. Okay, so you wanted to submit to, I think with this, the significance of this, I think we're going to get search warrant. Okay, that's fine. All right, I appreciate your cooperation. No worries. Of course. What nobody knew either was that hours before the crash, Clasen had been somewhere she shouldn't have been. Somewhere that would transform this case into something far more damning. And what they found missing from that location would raise questions about evidence destruction and who was trying to protect her. Sarah Clasen was a 14-year veteran of the Washington State Patrol. She'd worked out of the Yakima field office. She served as a public information officer for District 3, the region between Yakima and Walla Walla. Her job was literally to speak for the police, to explain investigations, to represent law enforcement to the media and public. She had no disciplinary record, no prior incidents, a clean career spanning more than a decade. She was married to Trent Clasen, a retired state trooper. They lived together in the Horn Rapids neighborhood in Richland. On March 1st, Sarah Clasen finished her shift. According to surveillance footage and police reports, she met her husband around 3:20 p.m., but they didn't meet at home. Instead, they met at a bar, the Moon Palace, a small establishment at 228 Simon Street near the Uptown Shopping Center. Listed as a Chinese restaurant, but functioning primarily as a bar. The place was unusual. Cash only. Customers had to enter through a side door. The front door stayed locked. A neighboring business owner told police the Moon Palace was very heavy-handed with the alcohol in their drinks. Richland officer Steve Hyde wrote in his report that he'd been unaware the Moon Palace was even a functional business. The years that I've worked for the city of Richland, I had presumed that it was an abandoned building that used to function as a Chinese restaurant. But Sarah and Trent Clasen knew it was open They were regulars. Surveillance cameras from traffic lights and businesses showed Sarah arriving in her Kia Telluride around 3:28 p.m. She and her husband went inside, and they stayed for 4 hours before leaving around 7:26 p.m. 4 hours at a bar before Sarah Clasen got behind the wheel of her SUV. For hours before she turned left across Highway 240, without properly judging the distance. For hours before Joseph Vega Sanchez died under her vehicle. What investigators discovered about the class's drinking habits would show this wasn't an isolated incident. This was a pattern, and what they found missing from the bar would suggest someone was trying to cover up exactly how much alcohol Sarah Clasen had consumed that day. After Sarah Clasen's arrest, Richland police needed to establish how much she'd been drinking. They went to the Moon Palace with search warrants. Their interaction with bar manager and owner Bradley Wu was tense. The place had to be temporarily shut down because of their search. So, we're just investigating a collision that happened on Saturday. Do you recognize these two people? We think they may have been here. They've been here a long time ago. A long time ago. Yeah. Okay. Were you working on Saturday? I was not working on Saturday. Okay. Who was working on Saturday? One of the girls. Okay. Who was the other girls that were working on Saturday? There were just a couple other employees. Okay. So what were the names? I don't really want to answer anything because I don't know what this is going to turn into. All right. So that's kind of what I figured. So I did apply for and was granted the search warrant for this location. Okay. That's why we didn't go over this yesterday. We were hoping to do this with your cooperation, but we can do this either way. So, do I need an attorney then? Or you can get an attorney. Right now, we have a search warrant. Here you go. We're going to search and seize residue location for receipts, financial documents, badge or ledger entries, or any similar documentations. I will leave you with a copy of this warrant. Can you let me ask my attorney first? Would that be okay? No, you don't have the choice, sir. So, what we're going to need you to do, unfortunately, everyone's going to have to leave. We're going to have to close you down until we're done with this. When officers asked him about the couple, Wu became very evasive. So, you wouldn't be able to tell me yes or no that whether these two people were here or not. I'm not going to say. So, why not? I just don't want to say. Soon, however, things became very heated. I feel like we got to search this place. Like, sir, with all due respect, I don't understand why you wouldn't be willing to share who the employee was and would be able to answer our question. It is best not my interest. I feel like he is interfering with our investigation, and I think he needs to leave. Sir, you need to leave. Sir, you need to leave. I'm just going to sit right here. You're not going to sit right here. You are going to be obstructing our investigation, and you'll be in handcuffs. Do you understand? You were here on a search warrant. You can sit outside the door. We are going to search the premises. Do you understand? We try to make you work. Go sit in the corner. Okay, that's fine. Go sit in the corner. I will. Go ahead. I have to take my phone first. You can grab your phone. That's all. Look for March 1st on there. That's what you want. We know what we're looking for. Thank you. I don't understand why you're being difficult about it, sir. We're just trying to get in and out. I'll tell you what you are doing is you're bringing more attention on yourself. We were hoping to get in and get out of here real quick. Still, the officers were able to dig up some evidence. From seized bar tabs, they found 42 handwritten tabs from December, January, and February, all marked Trent and Sarah and Trent, or just Sarah. Police created a calendar. January had 20 tabs over 18 days. February showed 17 tabs over 15 days. The Clanes had visited the Moon Palace 3 to 5 times every week for 2 months before the fatal crash. The tabs generally showed 4 to 6 drink entries each, usually $6 to $7.50 per drink. But here's what destroyed any claim. And this was just casual drinking. The tab from March 1st, the day of the crash, was missing, completely gone. Okay, so in doing the search for these receipts, you're able to figure out which ones pertain to Sarah. Yes, correct. We on the bottom of the receipts. Sometimes it will say Sarah, but most of the times it will say Trent and Sarah, indicating that they were here together. Okay, and so the idea of expanding for the date range is just established that this particular occasion on March was consistent with prior times they were there. So the receipt is consistent, and there may be other reasons why. I was just asking. Yeah, we just suspect that they are the owners likely got rid of the documentation on the 1st of March after hearing, what had happened with this incident, kind of giving it its high-profile nature, and probably want to absolve themselves from any responsibility. The employee here. The owner's son said that they're friends with with Sarah, with the suspect, and also, he also reached out to who I believe was Scott Johnson, who's also currently defending Sarah Clasen, with her right surveillance footage proved the class were there from approximately 3:28 p.m. to 7:26 p.m., 4 hours at the bar, but no receipt, no record of what they ordered, no documentation of how many drinks Sarah Clasen consumed. Officers searched the premises, checked trash cans, requested all financial records. Nothing. But prosecutors didn't need the bar tab. They had something better, something that couldn't be destroyed or hidden. Something taken directly from Sarah Clasen's blood 6 hours after crash. After refusing the preliminary breath test and field sobriety tests at the scene, Sarah Clasen had been arrested and taken to the Richland Police Department. She'd initially told investigators she had been home that evening and left only to pick up pizza. That was a lie. Police already knew it. Surveillance footage showed her at the Moon Palace for 4 hours. Officer Hyde applied for a search warrant to draw Clasen's blood. A judge approved the warrant at 11:55 p.m. For hours and 15 minutes after the collision, medical staff drew blood at 1:16 a.m. 6 hours after crash. If you take it off, it's okay. You can switch it to the other finger. When the blood test results came back weeks later, they were baffling. Her blood alcohol level was at 0.17%. That's more than twice the legal limit of 0.08%. And that was 6 hours after the crash. 6 hours during which her body had been metabolizing alcohol. At the time of the collision, her BAC would have been even higher. Remember that witness who said Clasen tried to flee the scene? That behavior suddenly made more sense. She knew she was drunk. She knew she just killed someone. She tried to drive away before police arrived, but the motorcycle was stuck under her SUV. She couldn't move. Her attitude at the crash site was sickening, and the public outrage was only fitting. But prosecutors had more evidence. Evidence about exactly where Sarah Clasen had been drinking. Evidence that someone had tried to destroy. Sarah Clasen was arrested on March 1st, 2025, but she wasn't formally charged until September 2025, 6 months later. The delay sparked public criticism. Protesters gathered in Richland demanding justice for Joser Sanchez. His family grew increasingly frustrated. When asked if prosecutors had been in contact with them, Joser's father, Ruben Sanchez, said, "No. No communication, no updates, nothing." Then in September 2025, charges were finally filed. 1 count of vehicular homicide while driving under the influence. On September 24th, 2025, Sarah Clasen appeared in Benton County Superior Court for arraignment. She pleaded not guilty. We will waive a formal reading and enter a plea of not guilty. She was released on her own recognizance. No bail, no payment required, but the proposed conditions were minimal. Clasen could travel freely within Washington State and Arizona to visit family. She didn't have to wear a monitoring device. She didn't need an ignition interlock device installed in her vehicle. Family and friends of Joser spoke out immediately after the hearing. "Have you guys heard from the prosecutor at all? I think I saw that they weren't communicating with you very well. Have they talked to you at all since then?" "No. His life was valuable, and he meant a lot to us, and justice needs to be served." Remember that missing bar tab? The Moon Palace was also facing scrutiny. No violations in the past 5 years, according to Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board records, but the missing receipt and the destroyed evidence suggested someone had tried to help Clasen avoid accountability. Bradley Wu has not been charged with a crime as of December 2025, but he was named as a defendant in the Sanchez family civil lawsuit alongside Clasen in the Moon Palace. What would happen at trial remains unclear, but so far it seems prosecutors had everything they needed: the blood test, the body camera footage, the surveillance video, the witness testimony about attempted flight, the pattern of drinking at the Moon Palace for months before the crash. Sarah Clasen's trial is scheduled for February 2026. She remains on paid administrative leave from the Washington State Patrol, still collecting her trooper salary nearly a year after killing Jose Sanchez. Her next court date was originally set for October 22, 2025, but was moved to January 7, 2026 for an omnibus hearing to finalize pretrial details. The prosecution will present the blood alcohol results, body camera footage showing impairment, the 4 hours at the Moon Palace, the missing bar tab suggesting consciousness of guilt, the witness testimony about attempted flight, the lies about being home before going for pizza. The defense will argue the blood draw delay created reasonable doubt, that the crash was a tragic accident, not a crime, that Sarah Clasen has a spotless record and deserves leniency. Sarah Clasen maintains her not guilty plea. Her attorney has stated she deserves fair proceedings, not a system biased against her. But Joser's family would argue otherwise. It's been protecting her because of her badge, because of her career, because prosecutors and police work with troopers every day and might not want to destroy one of their own.